You saw the title of this video and you clicked on it because you're probably one of those people who works quite hard and you're like, why is this guy talking about hard work? It's a trap. Well, I'm Gurmeet. I run a marketing agency of my own that generates over $100,000 a year. I also have an edtech company where we're building a community of the best communicators in India. Beyond this, I have worked with countless founders across the country where they all make over 100 CR a year and they're doing really well for themselves. All of these people consistently understand the difference between hard work and leveraged work. Now, most of you young entrepreneurs don't know the difference between hard work and productivity. You might be blindly working hard, not having the right direction, and that can ruin your chances of getting to your successful dream. Let me explain that in detail. First thing is that hard work is not productivity. There is a difference between productivity, which leads you to something that gives you progress, and blind hard work. I'll be using this example throughout the video, the example of going to networking events. Now, going to networking events is not inherently bad unless you're someone who is just grinding and needs to make a lot of money. But if you're an absolute beginner or if you're an absolute expert, someone who can angel invest or hire talent, going to networking events is not bad. But if you're one of those people who hasn't yet figured out how to make cash flow, you have some skills, networking events isn't the best idea. But networking events feel like a productive day. They feel like you've done hard work. But that's a tricky thing. Something that makes you feel like hard work is done doesn't mean it's actually productive. What really matters is what gets cash into your company. For example, I make content every single morning. I wake up, I do this, I do that. I have a routine for myself. This hard work that I put into myself is leveraged work. The content I make directly makes me company's money. It brings cash flow into my company. That is proper productivity instead of blind hard work. So I don't just say that I do 50 emails a day, 100 cold outreach a day, I work on my agency, I do this, I do that. That's hard work that will lead me nowhere. But hard work that is genuinely productive is tricky to understand, and you have to understand the difference between hard work and productivity for your own business. Adding on top of it, there is a layer called dopamine hard work. Now, this is something that took me a while to figure out as a young entrepreneur myself, is that some hard work might give you a lot of dopamine. For example, networking events again. You go there, you make friends, you meet investors, you feel proud of yourself for being among successful people or people who are just starting off, you're slightly doing better than them, and it gives you a strong dopamine hit. But does that genuinely bring you money into your company? Are you actually building cash flow, hiring the right talent through it? Probably not. That is something that is boring work. For example, for this video, which will probably build my brand over time, I had to write the script, choose the topic. After the video is recorded, I have to edit the video. My fan is off, my AC is off, my air purifier is off, my kitten is sleeping on my lap. I can't really move a lot. This is boring work to me. This work does not give me dopamine. While editing this video, I'm not really going to edit a lot. I'm just going to add captions, but even that is quite boring. But this video directly decides how much cash flow comes to my bank account. This boring work is productive for me. So you also need to understand the difference between work that gives you dopamine, which makes you feel like you're being productive, but can actually slow down your growth. For example, when you're starting out, a lot of newbie founders are busy building systems, figuring out what tools to make, figuring out whom to hire, but they haven't even closed their first client. They haven't even sold their first product. They don't even have an MVP ready. You need to prioritize which work is the most important one, which work will get to your goal the fastest, and then work towards it. That work is often boring and not productive. And often boring and productive, but it's often not something that gives you dopamine. Keep in mind, everything I'm saying involves phases in your life. For example, once you become really successful, where your company is generating over like say $1 million every quarter, then you now have the option to upskill yourself into a specific part within your company where you can actually do work that brings you dopamine. But initially, often almost all of your work is going to be boring, and you have to accept that. And you need to know the difference between dopamine work and boring work. Boring work that gets you productive. Now, a layer above that finally is the difference between movement and moment. Movement and momentum. I keep saying moment often. Momentum is very different from movement. The problem with movement is that you might go from point A to point B and feel happy. But that same movement can take you from point B to point A and you'll still be happy because you're feeling you're moving. There is this line that if you're not moving, you're losing. And that is true. But a better aspect of life is momentum. Being able to build a momentum behind your work that compounds over time. Now, throughout the YouTube videos that I'll be making, I'll also talk quite extensively about sales. And in sales, there is this concept, especially in B2B, that you don't close deals because of offers. You close deals because of the momentum behind the offers, the force behind the offer. For example, I have 40,000 followers on Instagram, 2K here. I make a lot of content. Any lead that comes to my company is well warmed up. They know who I am. They know my character. They know how I talk. They can trust me. They've seen my case studies and my website. They've seen my expertise through my content. These leads and prospects are well warmed up, and there's a lot of momentum and force behind them. That force closes the offer instead of the offer itself. That is why it's hard for newbie founders to close B2B deals, because they have no momentum. They rather focus too much on movement. You need to distinguish between these two things and understand that momentum is very different from movement. You combine momentum with avoiding dopamine work, combine that with the idea that hard work is not productivity. You understand this in depth, you will be surprised how your hard work leads to your success. Now, this is something very interesting to me. A lot of people genuinely believe that hard work is not enough in life. We need luck, you need ancestral wealth. Of course, these things help. But I've genuinely seen people who constantly work hard in the right direction with productivity, who have terrible luck, who have no ancestral wealth, still make a lot of money. I myself am an example of that. Life has dealt terrible cards for me. But with hard work, I've gotten myself out of it, and now I'm building a future for myself. And if I can do it, so can you. Cheers.